All right, so my AC is just not blowing cold air. I have no idea what it is, so we need to check for a leak. So I got here to Alex's house, and here's Alex right here.
Hello.
Remember Alex from his 69 Mach 1, so we're gonna go test it out and see what we got.
All right, so this is the classic auto air system. It's very similar to the vintage air. They're pretty simple. So once you understand how things electrically work, it's not too hard to get a bearing of what's going on. The first thing I always do when someone's complaining about hot air is checking the service valves. Usually these, especially on the classic auto, they do tend to go bad, sometimes straight out of the factory. If you open it like this and you hear a pop or a hiss, then that's a very good sign that your service valve is bad. So that's the first thing I do for both low and high, just to hear if there's anything coming out, because it has an O-ring in here.
So that's the weak point?
Yeah, it has actually you can see the oil already, but it has an O-ring in there that seals it until you open it. And sometimes it can still get past the O-ring because it's the high side especially has very high pressures. In this application or scenario, the compressor does engage, which is the first thing you want to check when your AC is not blowing cold. If your compressor is not engaged, what it's going to look like is this part is going to be spinning with the engine. Obviously, your engine needs to be on. But this area right here, this section, which is the clutch, will be stationary. If it's spinning, you'll see it spinning with it, and it moves fast. But if it's staying put, that means you have no engagement of your compressor. This car does engage, but if that isn't the case for you, the first thing I go to check is right in here. There's going to be a connector just down here that you can unplug. And this connector plugs into a sensor, which its job is two things. It either cuts the compressor off when the pressure is too low as a safety, or it shuts it off as a safety once again when the compressor is too high. So its job is to mediate and keep the pressure within the right range. So the way you would check it is to get an odometer, set it to the beeper basically, test it, and then go to the sensor and go to each prong and push them together. If it's making noise, that means that you have continuity, and that means the sensor is trying to have the compressor engaged, meaning everything's good for it to run. So if you still don't have any compressor running at all, the next thing to look at is what the actual evaporator box and the computer is doing. So you get your connector, and in here, one of these leads is going to go to the compressor, and one of these leads is going to go to the evaporator box. What you should see from one of these leads is around 12.5 and 13 volts while the car is running and while you have the AC started to try to get it to run. All right, turn the AC on.
Okay.
That's good. Now you're gonna wanna switch to DC voltage. DC is where it has the line and the intermittent dots. The waves, like a sine wave, is AC, or alternating current. So you're gonna wanna try one and go to any type of ground. You have voltage there. That is the box basically allowing, the solenoid is giving power to this system, which is also passing through this. So the next thing I would look at is the problem this way. So now we know that it's getting power, it's getting to the switch. So if that compressor is not turning on, either the compressor clutch is broken or something along the wiring is corroded and bad. So in this case, the compressor clutch is actually engaging. However, I don't notice the suction being cold. So what could be happening here is either you have a faulty sensor that isn't shutting off on the low side when it's supposed to save the compressor, or your compressor's bad. Yeah.
Don't say that.
Because the compressor right now, as you can see on this side, it's engaging. The clutch is spinning with it, meaning it's energized. And if you feel here, this should be cold. The suction side should be cold, coming back from the evaporator. So the fact that it's not cold is either you're out of gas completely and this sensor is bad, or you have a bad compressor. There is a scenario which actually the most common with these kits especially is that you have a leak in your system. And that happens when your freon's low, you're gonna have a leak because it went somewhere. In this case, you could actually see right here, I'll wet my finger with it, this is some oil from the compressor. This fitting, both of these actually are most likely leaking due to a bad crimp or just not being crimped when clean. So that is most likely where the refrigerant is leaving from. The way to tell is to simply see, unless you have a UV dye, to simply see where there's like an oil residue. See how this is oil residue here? And on the fitting, how it also has some residue? That is an indicator of an oil leak. So it's good to go around and check all your fittings to see if you can find any oil that came out or any residue.
So I'm leaving Alex's house now, and it looks like the leak is out where the hoses are. So I'm just going to order all new hoses with the crimps and all the connectors, and I'll do another video when I get everything, and then hopefully I can bribe Alex to do the work for me. So till next time, hopefully you guys learned a little something on how to figure out what to look for when your AC is down. Until next time, take care.